17 years ago, I met Haley Pierce at a student festival in Austin. It was one of those humid spring afternoons when the sky threatens to storm but never quite delivers. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was in my third year of architecture, constantly buried in models and stress, and I only showed up because my roommate had promised there'd be free tacos. And beer. That too. She was a freshman, psych major, way too bright-eyed for someone living off ramen and midterms. She walked up to me holding a dripping popsicle, hair in a messy bun, and said, "You look like you hate fun." I don't know what it was, her grin, her confidence, or the fact that she said it while offering me the other half of her popsicle, but I didn't hate fun that day. I spent the rest of the festival with her, and most of the next week too. And somehow, a guy like me, buttoned up, soft-spoken, a little socially clumsy, ended up falling completely, almost stupidly in love with someone like her. We were opposites. She was fire to my stone, loud to my quiet, emotion to my logic. But we made sense. Or at least we did back then. By our third year together, I knew I was going to marry her. There was no elaborate proposal. Just the two of us on a rooftop, tipsy on cheap wine, watching the lights of the city blink beneath us. She said yes before I even finished the question. We got married the summer after I graduated. Moved into a cramped apartment above a bakery in East Nashville where the smell of bread woke us up most mornings. I took an entry-level job at a construction firm, and she started working toward her certification to become a school counselor. Those first few years were hard in the usual ways. Money tight, time tighter, but it felt like we were in it together. Like we were still on the same side. Life unfolded the way it does when you're not really paying attention. Slowly, then all at once. We got the house. Had our daughter, Lily, and then our son, Lucas, a few years later. Haley took a position at a middle school nearby. I got promoted a couple times, moved into management, then upper management. By most definitions, we were successful. Secure. Settled. But you don't really notice when the cracks start forming. Not at first. We built routines. Monday night tacos. Friday movie nights with the kids. Sunday drives just to get them to nap in the back seat. There was love in it, real love, but it started feeling more like a rhythm than a connection. We were functioning, efficient, but not quite alive. Our circle of friends was mostly other couples from school or the neighborhood. Haley always drew people in, so we ended up with this tight-knit group, Jenna and Cal, who were a few years older and always bickering in this sarcastic, sitcom marriage kind of way. Tammy and Sean, newer friends, but interesting in that way that made you feel like you should be taking notes. They were open about experimenting with their relationship, testing boundaries. I mostly stayed quiet during those conversations, but Haley was curious. Always asking questions. Laughing too loud at their stories. One evening, we were at Jenna and Cal's place. It was one of those laid-back, backyard dinner parties. String lights, kids playing in the grass, cheap wine in plastic cups. At some point, after the kids had gone inside, the conversation drifted into this game someone brought up, the hall pass list. A dumb, hypothetical thing. 5 celebrities you could sleep with, no consequences, no guilt. Everyone laughed. Jenna named some British actor. Cal picked a pop star I'd never even heard of. Then it got to Haley. She didn't even pause. "Grayson Shaw," she said, smiling into her wine glass like it was a secret joke. There were chuckles around the table. Tammy snorted. Of course, that man could ruin lives with one smile. Haley just shrugged. "Hey, if it's hypothetical." I laughed along, but there was something about the way she said it. Not the name. It was a safe pick, some charming TV actor from one of those streaming dramas she binged. It was how she said it. Like she'd already imagined it. Like she'd given it real thought. And maybe I'm just the kind of guy who overthinks things, but that night after we got home, something about her seemed off. She was scrolling through her phone, giggling at some message, and when I tried to glance over her shoulder, she flipped the screen down face first on the nightstand. That wasn't normal. Haley never used to hide anything. She used to hand me her phone to pick playlists on road trips or show me stupid memes without a second thought. It was probably nothing, I told myself. Probably. But then she started going to bed a little later than usual. Laughing more at her phone than with me. She started talking about going on weekend trips to reconnect with herself, booking these yoga retreats that I had never heard of until the day before she left. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid husband. I told myself we were just going through a phase. That we were tired, overworked, too focused on the kids. That it would pass. But deep down, I think something changed after that game. Or maybe the game didn't change anything at all. Maybe it just showed me what had been simmering underneath for a while. The strange thing is, when someone you love starts slipping away, it doesn't happen like a movie scene. There's no dramatic music or grand moment. It's little things. A quiet drift. A missed goodnight kiss. A shared joke that no longer lands. And one day, you wake up next to someone you don't recognize, not because they've changed suddenly, but because they've been changing all along, and you just weren't looking closely enough. That night, lying in bed beside Haley, her back turned to me, her breathing already soft with sleep, I stared at the ceiling and tried to quiet the storm building inside me. I wanted to believe it was all in my head. But some doors, once opened, never quite close again. I didn't bring it up. Not the game. Not the phone thing. Not the way her energy had shifted after that night. I guess I didn't want to believe it was anything serious. I told myself every relationship has its ebbs and flows, and maybe this was just a valley before the next peak. We had kids, jobs, a mortgage. Things get busy. People change. I convinced myself that we were just adjusting, that she'd come back around. But then, slowly, the group started drifting apart. Tammy and Sean broke up, something about Sean crossing lines that weren't clearly drawn. Jenna and Cal tried counseling for a bit, then split after a particularly bad vacation in Florida where Cal apparently didn't come back to the hotel one night. We didn't see much of anyone after that. The group text slowly died. Birthday invitations stopped coming. Everyone went quiet, like we were all trying to outrun the version of ourselves we'd become during those backyard nights. Years passed. We got caught up in life. Lily started prepping for college, touring schools, obsessing over essays, applying for scholarships. Lucas got into robotics, which basically meant hauling him to endless competitions and pretending to understand what his bots were doing while other parents nodded like it all made sense. Work got more intense for me, promotion, then another. I was managing big projects, traveling more. I was good at my job and it showed. And Haley seemed fine. At least on the surface. She went to conferences. Stayed busy with the school. Helped Lily prep for the SAT and cheered at Lucas's games. She was engaged. Present. So I told myself everything was fine. And then came the Chicago trip. She said it was a big educational conference. 3 days, panels, networking, hotel stay covered by her school. I remember the way she packed like it was a vacation. New dress. Fresh nails. She even bought a travel-size perfume I hadn't seen before. It's nothing, she said, waving me off. I just want to feel put together. These things are full of school board people and other counselors, everyone judges. I didn't question it. I should have. But I didn't. Funny thing is, I was supposed to be in Seattle that same week. Work trip. We joked about it, 2 ships passing in the night. But then, 2 days before, my meetings were moved online. Budget cuts, remote everything. So I stayed home. Didn't tell Haley the trip was canceled. Not for any reason other than, I don't know, laziness? Avoiding having to change the plan? Or maybe something deeper, maybe some part of me wanted to see what she'd do, unknowing that I was still home. She called the night she got in. Said the hotel was nice, the flight was bumpy, the keynote speaker was apparently some guru on adolescent development and trauma response. I told her I missed her. She said it back. Then she hung up quickly. Said she was late for dinner with some colleagues. I didn't think much of it at the time. It wasn't until the next day that everything started unraveling. I went to plug in her tablet, something she'd left behind, probably assuming she wouldn't need it. The battery was dead, and when I charged it and powered it on, I expected to see the usual Pinterest boards of home decor, school resources, recipe videos she never actually tried. But it opened right into the gallery. And the first photo I saw made my blood run cold. Haley. In a hotel suite. Her arms around a man I didn't recognize, tall, clean-shaven, perfectly styled like someone rehearsed for the camera. They were holding champagne glasses. Her head was tilted toward his shoulder. She was smiling. Not like someone at a conference. Like someone in a movie. Like someone falling into a world that wasn't meant to exist. I told myself it had to be an old photo. Maybe she ran into someone she knew. Maybe it was nothing. Then I saw the next image. And the next. And then a screen recording. A voice note. She was practicing what sounded like an alibi, calmly, methodically. If Mark asks, just say we went to that Mexican place across from the conference center. Tell him you stayed until 11. Don't say anything about the bar. I sat frozen, holding the tablet like it might burn through my hands. There were texts too. Screenshots between her and someone saved under the name Jordan, except the messages made it clear this was the same man from the photos. She told him he looked like a young Grayson Shaw. She even called him her hall pass come true. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't breathe. The betrayal wasn't just in the cheating. It was in the planning. The precision. She had laid it all out. Messages to friends lining up her excuse, notes for what to say in case I asked too many questions. She hadn't slipped. She hadn't made a mistake in a moment of weakness. She had orchestrated it. It was surreal. Like watching someone else's life implode. Like reading a script where the twist was too cruel to believe. This woman, the mother of my children, the person I'd built a home with, had taken a fake joke from a backyard party and turned it into a fantasy she was now living behind my back. And I only found out because her tablet didn't lock. I backed up everything. Every photo. Every note. Every message. I stored it in the cloud. Made copies. Hid them where she wouldn't look. And then I sat at our kitchen table until well after midnight, staring into the dark. I didn't call her. Didn't confront her. I didn't even cry. I just waited. Because I needed to know, when she came home, would she lie again? Or would she confess to something she thought I'd never uncover? She walked through the door just after 4 p.m. the next day, suitcase in hand, sunglasses still on despite the cloudy weather. I heard her car pull up and went to sit in the living room, not doing anything, just waiting. She didn't notice at first. I think she expected the house to be empty. Hey, she called, walking in with that fake brightness people wear when they're coming down from a high. Babe? You home early? I didn't say anything. Just watched her. She turned the corner and froze when she saw me sitting there. No TV on, no lights. Just me and the quiet. Oh, she said, caught off guard. I thought you were in Seattle? I nodded. Plans changed. There was a pause. A long one. I could see the wheels turning. Her face flickered, surprise, confusion, and then something else. Fear maybe. But it passed. She recovered quickly. Well, conference was amazing, she said, smiling like she was on camera. So many sessions. I'll have to tell you about this one keynote guy, seriously inspiring. She set her bag down by the stairs and walked toward the kitchen like she was going to make coffee, like she hadn't just spent the last 3 days wrapped in another man's arms. I followed her. What was your favorite panel? I asked casually. She blinked. What? At the conference. Favorite panel. You said there were some good ones. She stammered for a second, then launched into a vague answer about trauma-informed care and teacher burnout. All surface level. Nothing real. No specifics. When she turned back around with a mug in her hand, I was sitting at the table. Her tablet was there, now locked again. I tapped it with one finger. You left this behind. She hesitated, then smiled like it didn't mean anything. Shoot. I wondered where that went. She didn't ask if I had looked at it. Didn't ask what I'd seen. That was when I knew she was betting on denial. Betting on me being clueless. She thought she still had control of the story. I saw the pictures, Haley. She stopped stirring her coffee. Her whole body stilled. Then, slowly, she turned toward me, placing the mug down with a shaky clink. What pictures? Her voice was flat, rehearsed. The ones of you and Jordan. In the suite. Champagne. The dress you bought 2 weeks ago. The one you said was for Cal's retirement party. Her face went pale, but she didn't crack. Not yet. I don't know what you're talking about, she said carefully. I stared at her. I know everything. I heard the voice note too. That did it. Her eyes widened, just slightly, but enough. The mask cracked. Just a little. Still, she tried to pivot. Mark, I can explain. I held up my hand. No. I don't want a performance. I just want the truth. There was a long silence. Then, finally, she sat down across from me and exhaled like she was finally done pretending. It was something that happened, she said, carefully choosing her words. I was feeling disconnected. I didn't plan for it to go that far. But you did plan, I said. You coordinated with people. You rehearsed what to say. You left notes. Her jaw tightened. I didn't think you'd ever see that. No, I said, you thought I was in Seattle? She didn't respond to that. You slept with him? I asked, not yelling, not dramatic. Just flat. She didn't answer. I waited. Finally, she nodded. Just once. Protection? I asked. Again a pause. Then a wince. No, she whispered. I didn't think I needed to. I was mid-cycle. I stared at her, stunned. We have kids, Haley. I know, she said, tears filling her eyes now. I know. I lost control. No, I said coldly. You didn't. You had control the whole time. You just used it to lie. She covered her face with both hands. Mark, I'm sorry. I swear to God, I didn't mean to hurt you. But you still did. I watched her fold into herself, like a balloon that had finally been popped. The Haley in front of me wasn't the one who smiled into champagne flutes and leaned into stolen kisses. This one was stripped down, fragile. But it didn't move me. Because the pain she caused wasn't accidental. It wasn't something that just happened. It was methodical. It was layered. It was a story she wrote without me. And sitting there, watching her try to piece together a version of herself that I could still love, I realized I didn't recognize her anymore. Not the way she bit her lip trying to cry. Not the way she said my name like it meant something. Because the truth was, I didn't believe her. Not anymore. Not a single word. I stood up without saying anything. Walked past her. She called after me once, Mark, please, but I didn't stop. I slept on the couch that night. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't stand to share a room with a stranger. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Haley humming softly in the kitchen, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't detonated a bomb in the middle of our marriage the night before. I sat up slowly, my back aching from the lumpy cushions, and just listened. She moved around the kitchen like it was any other Saturday. Making breakfast. Sipping coffee. Talking to the dog like it hadn't all just come crashing down. When I finally stood and walked in, she smiled at me, tight, a little cautious, but still smiling. I figured you'd want some coffee, she said, sliding a mug across the counter. I didn't touch it. She waited, watching me. When I didn't respond, she finally asked, Are we going to talk about it? About what? I said, my voice flat. The part where you rehearsed your alibi? Or the part where you said it wasn't planned, when everything about it was? Her face fell. I know what I did was wrong. I said I was sorry. Yeah, I said, but you're only sorry I found out. That's when she started to shift. I saw it in her eyes. The moment she realized I wasn't just hurt, I was angry. I wasn't emotional. I was calculated. And that scared her. She straightened her back, drew in a breath. We've had problems. You've been gone a lot. The connection between us. Stop, I cut her off. Do not make this about me. Don't you dare. Her eyes narrowed just a little. I could see it. The mask slipping. The internal gears turning. The part of her that was prepping for damage control. I'm just saying it didn't come out of nowhere. But the lies did, I said, stepping closer. You didn't make a mistake, Haley. You created a world outside this one. You built it, maintained it, and you made sure I wouldn't see it. That's when she said it. The line that turned everything cold. You have no proof. The second the words left her mouth, the room shifted. No more remorse. No more regret. Just calculation. She thought I had a photo or two. Maybe a voice note. something she could deny or spin. And the second she said it, that smug little shrug, everything inside me snapped into place. "You're really going to say that?" I asked quietly. "You're going to pretend this didn't happen?" She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Unless you want to burn this family to the ground, I suggest you move forward." And that was it. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was positioning, prepping for a battle. I didn't say another word. Just walked upstairs, into the bedroom she'd turned into a war zone in a red dress and a lie, and opened her suitcase. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. But something told me there was more. There was a tablet in the bottom zipper pocket. Not the one I'd seen before. A second one. But I tried her birthday. No luck. Then I tried Lily's birthday. Unlocked. What I found made the first discovery look like a warm-up. There were videos, club footage, filmed sideways, showing her dancing with Jordan. Laughing. Drunk. Hands all over him. A grainy shot from the hotel hallway. Then the two of them in bed, blurry selfies where she smiled like a teenager on vacation. Like none of this would ever come back to haunt her. And then, the audio files. One labeled hall_pass_voicemail.wave. It was her voice. Rehearsed. Explaining the lie to her friend Jenny. "Remember, we had dinner. I left around 10. You Ubered home. If Mark asks, stick to it." There was even a flash drive taped to the back of the tablet with backup copies. She hadn't just planned this. She had ensured it. Protected it. Like she thought she might need to manipulate the narrative later. This wasn't impulsive. This was a project. A side life. I packed it all up. Every file. Every screenshot. I uploaded it to an encrypted drive and printed copies for backup. And then I made a call. Sheila Clark. I'd heard of her through a guy at work who went through a nasty divorce. Said she was like a scalpel, cold, sharp, and precise. No theatrics. Just facts and damage. The kind of lawyer people regret underestimating. When I met her that Monday, I laid it all out. The photos. The voice notes. The tablet. The timeline. Everything. She listened quietly. Didn't say much. Just nodded and took notes. When I finished, she leaned back, folded her hands, and said, "This isn't just infidelity. It's premeditated deception. That voice note? That's going to be our centerpiece." Can she claim the hall pass thing as consent? I asked. Not unless it was in writing. And even then, the fabrication of evidence, this audio file, the rehearsed timeline, makes it clear she never intended to be honest. Courts don't like that. And the kids. If you want custody, we can argue emotional instability and manipulation. This wasn't just betrayal, it was reckless. She didn't protect herself. Didn't protect you. Didn't protect the kids. She's a counselor. A mandated reporter. She knows better. And will make sure the court sees that. I walked out of Sheila's office with a folder under my arm and a strange kind of clarity in my chest. I didn't feel relief. Not yet. But I felt steady. For the first time since that stupid backyard game, I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't hoping for the best or doubting myself. I knew who Haley was. And I knew exactly what I had to do next. Back home, I didn't say a word. I kept things quiet. Civil. Like we were just two tired parents managing life under the same roof. And Haley, she went along with it. No more mentions of what happened. No questions. No apologies. She thought I'd made a choice to stay quiet, to let it go. I let her believe that. It was better that way. The less she suspected, the more she talked, to the wrong people. She started building a story. I caught fragments of it in whispered phone calls and text messages left half open on the kitchen counter. The new narrative was that I was paranoid, controlling, emotionally distant. She even told her friend Jenny, yes, the same Jenny from the voice note, that I'd become erratic since Seattle got canceled. That I was twisting innocent details into conspiracies. She didn't know that I had Jenny's confession already, on audio, no less. One night when Jenny stopped by to check in, I had set up my phone to record in the living room. I left them chatting with a bottle of wine while I took a call upstairs. The recording picked up everything. Jenny asking, "Does he suspect?" And Haley laughing, actually laughing as she said, "He's too proud to dig deep. He'll just stew in it until he lets it go." That recording was already in Sheila's possession before the preliminary hearing. It would be the first of many nails in the coffin. The day of the hearing, I showed up in a suit that suddenly felt too big and a stomach twisted in knots. Haley arrived separately, flanked by a lawyer who looked like she came from a catalog. Haley wore her professional counselor smile, the one she used at school events and parent-teacher conferences. Betrayal scrubbed clean from her expression. When the judge entered, her lawyer was quick to speak. Claimed Haley had been under emotional duress. That I had a history of emotional neglect. That my behavior since discovering the photos had become unstable. They pushed for temporary spousal support, exclusive access to the home, and full custody of the kids, citing my refusal to engage in reconciliation. It was laughable, but it didn't feel funny in the moment. It felt like sitting inside a slow-motion car crash, watching this woman I once trusted weaponize my silence like it was proof of guilt. Then Sheila stood up. No theatrics. Just a calm, methodical presentation of facts. First came the audio. Jenny's voice filling the courtroom as she admitted Haley had left the conference with someone who wasn't part of the staff. You could hear the tension in her voice. Regret, maybe. Or panic. Then came the home video, the living room footage from our conversation. Haley, talking in detail about the man. His body. His hotel suite. Her admission that she kept her wedding ring on because it made it feel more dangerous. The judge's expression didn't change, but I saw his pen pause mid-note. Then Sheila dropped the real bomb. Grayson Shaw, the celebrity Haley used as her hall pass inspiration, had never set foot in Chicago that week. He was, in fact, filming in Vancouver the entire time. Publicly. Verified. The man Haley had slept with? A professional impersonator named Travis Bell. Someone with a record. Someone who had been sued twice before, once for knowingly transmitting an STD, and once for misrepresenting himself at a paid event. Both settled out of court. When Sheila introduced this, Haley's expression broke for the first time. You could see the moment she realized just how far outside the lines she'd gone. The courtroom felt frozen for a beat. Then the judge leaned forward, asked Haley's attorney, "Was your client aware of this man's real identity?" There was no answer. Just scrambling. Stammering. A desperate attempt to pivot the narrative. But it was too late. The ruling came fast. Full temporary custody awarded to me, with the court recommending permanent custody pending final review. The house remained mine. Joint assets were frozen. Haley's visitation rights were reduced to supervised weekends, contingent on counseling. Then came the perjury ruling. Because Sheila had submitted not just the voice notes, but a breakdown of the false statements Haley and Jenny had included in their court affidavits. Jenny's text threads were pulled. Haley's dates didn't line up. The judge fined them both. Minor, legally speaking, but heavy enough to stain Haley's record. And when the district school board caught wind of the hearing, word got out before we even got home. Haley was placed on immediate administrative leave. Within a week, she was dismissed. A school counselor who falsifies court records and lies under oath doesn't exactly fit the brand. At home, the silence returned. But this time it was hers. She moved out 2 days later, tail tucked, pride shredded. No dramatic goodbyes. No desperate pleas. Just a rushed suitcase, a hollow look, and the faint smell of her perfume lingering in the air long after she shut the door. The kids didn't ask much. Lily understood more than she let on. Lucas just wanted to know if the new schedule meant we could get pizza more often. I kept the house clean. Not spotless, just lived in. I pulled old photos off the walls. Packed up what was hers. Donated the things I never liked to begin with. I didn't touch the wedding album. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The hardest part wasn't watching Haley fall. It was realizing how long I'd been living with someone I didn't really know. 6 months passed. The court orders held. The kids adjusted faster than I did. Haley went quiet until she got out of county lockup. Perjury cost her a job, not freedom, but the damage stuck. She sent letters. Left voicemails. Texts, always from new numbers. I ignored them all, until my mom called, gently suggesting I see her. Not to reconcile. Just to close the book. I agreed. We met at her mother's place. Haley looked thinner, older somehow. She cried the second she saw me, said she hadn't been able to sleep. Said everything was a mistake. That she never meant to hurt me. That she didn't know who Travis Bell really was. But she never said she wouldn't have done it if he'd been legit. She talked about what she lost, her job, her reputation, her kids. She never mentioned what she threw away. Just what was taken. I listened quiet. Then stood and said, "Stupid can be forgiven. Calculated can't." And I left her there, sobbing on the porch. Back in the car, I sat for a while before driving off. Lucas had drawn a picture for me the night before, me in a cape, holding his hand. My dad is my hero. I pulled it from the glove box and stared at it like it was scripture. I'd spent months thinking revenge was the path to closure. But it wasn't. The court didn't heal me. The wind didn't bring peace. It just made space. Peace came from walking away without burning what was left of me. Haley created a fantasy with no exit strategy. A one-night thrill she was willing to blow her life up for. She lied to me, to the court, to our children. But she couldn't lie her way back. That hall pass she clung to, her joke, her loophole, her little rebellion, it became her sentence. For me, it was the key to the truth. And the door out. She got to live in the story she wrote. I got to write a new one. Alone. But free.